The last time I saw my parents, my mother was standing on the front porch, her face twisted into a mask of pure, self-righteous fury. She screamed at me, her voice cracking, "You are choosing a stupid dog over your own family." I just stood there on the driveway, holding a single, beat-up cardboard box with my laptop and a few photo albums inside. My dog, Buster, was sitting in the passenger seat of my rusty 2008 Honda Civic, his big, beautiful golden retriever head poking out the window, whining softly. He knew something was wrong. I looked back at her, the woman who was supposed to love me unconditionally, and my voice was eerily calm. All the screaming had drained out of me on the long, frantic drive home. "He was more of a family to me than you ever were," I said. Then I got in my car, turned the key, and drove away. I was 19 years old. And I never, ever went back. You're probably wondering how a relationship gets to that point. How a family just shatters. I promise you, it doesn't happen overnight. It's a slow burn. A series of 1,000 little cuts until one final, brutal slash just severs the connection for good. For me, that final slash was the size and shape of a goofy, loyal, unconditionally loving golden retriever. Let's rewind 6 weeks. Life was fine. Normal, even. I was 19, taking a gap year before college to save up some money, working a part-time job at a local library. My parents, well, they were my parents. My mom was obsessed with appearances. Our house was her showroom. Everything had to be pristine, beige, and soulless. She followed a strict cleaning schedule, and you could practically hear her blood pressure spike if you left a glass on the coffee table without a coaster. My dad was her echo. A professional enabler. Whatever mom wanted, mom got. His entire personality was just agreeing with her to keep the peace. It was easier than having a spine, I guess. And then there was Buster. I got him for my 16th birthday. He was my dog. Not the family dog, my dog. I'd saved up for half of the adoption fee myself. He was this clumsy little fluffball who grew into a 75-pound lap dog. I trained him, I fed him, I walked him every single morning and every single night. I paid for his vet bills with my library money. He was my shadow, my confidant, my furry, four-legged soulmate. When my high school boyfriend broke my heart, Buster was the one who licked the tears off my face. When I was stressed about finals, he'd rest his big head on my lap as if to say, "It's okay, you got this." My parents, however, saw him as a flaw in their perfect showroom. A walking, shedding, occasionally drooling imperfection. "Did you vacuum today?" "I can see dog hair on the rug," Mom would say, pointing with a perfectly manicured finger. "He smells," she'd complain, even though he'd just had a bath. "Can't you keep him in your room?" "He's under my feet," was a daily refrain. I did my best. I vacuumed constantly. I bought expensive dog shampoos. I kept him in my room most of the time. I did everything I could to minimize his existence for them, because leaving him was never, ever an option. He was the one bright, warm, living thing in that sterile, quiet house. The beginning of the end started with a phone call. It was my Aunt Carol. My grandma, my mom's mom, had taken a bad fall a few states away. She'd broken her hip and needed surgery. Aunt Carol was overwhelmed, trying to manage her own kids and her mom's care. "I hate to ask, honey," she said, her voice strained over the phone, "but could you possibly come down for a week or two? Just to help out until she's a little more stable. I could really use an extra set of hands." Of course, I said yes immediately. I loved my grandma. But my very first thought, a knot of anxiety tightening in my stomach, was, what about Buster? I brought it up to my parents at dinner that night. "Aunt Carol needs help with grandma." I told her I could drive down on Saturday and stay for a week. My dad nodded. "That's good of you, sweetheart. Your grandma will appreciate that." My mom was already in planning mode. "A week should be fine. That gives them enough time to get a home health aide sorted out." Then she paused, fork halfway to her mouth. "What are you going to do with that dog?" "I was hoping you guys could watch him," I said, my voice small. "It's only a week. I'll leave all his food portioned out. All you have to do is let him out in the backyard a few times a day and walk him once in the evening." My mother sighed, a long, theatrical, put-upon sigh. "You know how I feel about having him in the house all day. He sheds everywhere." "Mom, please. It's for grandma. I wouldn't ask otherwise. I have no one else." "We'll think about it," she said, which was her code for, "I'm going to complain about this for the next 48 hours," before reluctantly agreeing. And she did. But eventually, she agreed. I wrote out a detailed schedule. I mean, ridiculously detailed. Food times, potty breaks, walk times, the vet's number, my number, and Carol's number. I bought extra-strength cleaning supplies specifically for pet hair. I gave Buster a bath and brushed him until my arms ached. I essentially tried to make him as invisible as possible for the week I'd be gone. The morning I left, I hugged him so tight. "You be a good boy," I whispered into his fur, and he licked my chin. "I'll be back before you know it." I looked my mom in the eye. "Please, just take care of him." "He'll be fine," she said, waving me off dismissively. "Go worry about your grandmother." The first few days were fine. I called every night to check in. I'd ask how Grandma was, and then I'd ask, "How's Buster?" "He's fine," my mom would say, the annoyance clear in her voice. "He just sits by your bedroom door all day." On the third day, I asked if she could put the phone on speaker so I could talk to him. "I know it sounds silly, but I missed him." She scoffed. "For God's sake, he's a dog. You're supposed to be focused on family right now." That was the first little prickle of unease. It felt cold. The next day, I called and my dad answered. He sounded tired. "Your mother had to pay the neighbor's kid $20 to walk the dog today," he said. "She said her back was hurting and she couldn't do it." "Oh, okay, no problem. I can Venmo you the money," I said instantly. No, don't worry about it. It's just, your mother is a little stressed." Later that night, I remembered I had a cheap little pet camera set up in my room, one I used to check on Buster when I was at work. I opened the app on my phone. Offline. That was weird. It was never offline. I texted my mom. "Hey, is the power out or something? The camera in my room isn't working." Her reply didn't come for 3 hours. "Oh, I unplugged that thing." It was making a weird humming noise and giving me a headache. The prickle of unease was now a full-blown alarm bell. That camera was silent. It didn't hum. She was lying. But why? I tried to push it down. I was being paranoid. I was just stressed about my grandma and missing my dog. My grandma's recovery was a little slower than expected, and my week-long trip turned into nearly 2. I felt terrible about it, calling my parents every day, apologizing profusely. "It's fine, honey, don't worry about it," my dad would say, a little too quickly. My mom just made passive-aggressive comments like, "Well, the house will certainly need a deep cleaning when you get back." The day before I was scheduled to finally drive home, I was sitting with my Aunt Carol on her porch. She was telling me how much she appreciated my help. "Your parents must be so proud of you," she said, smiling. "Your mom was just saying on the phone yesterday how you've become such a responsible young woman." I smiled back. "Thanks, Aunt Carol. And I'm so glad you guys finally found a permanent solution for the dog problem. It must be a huge relief for your mother." The air went out of my lungs. My blood turned to ice water. I stared at her, trying to keep my expression neutral. What solution?" I asked, my voice a croak. Aunt Carol took a sip of her iced tea, completely oblivious to the world that was shattering around me. "Oh, finding him that wonderful new home on a big farm where he can run around all day. Honestly, it's for the best. A big dog like that needs space, not to be cooped up in a house. Your mom said the new family has kids and they just adore him already." I don't remember the rest of the conversation. It was just a roaring in my ears. A farm. The classic lie you tell a kid when their pet dies. Except they were using it on me, a 19-year-old, and my dog wasn't dead. He was gone. I stumbled inside, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold my phone. I called my mom. Straight to voicemail. I called my dad. He picked up on the 4th ring. "Hey, sweetie, what's up?" he asked, his voice thick with false cheerfulness. I couldn't play games. I couldn't beat around the bush. "Dad, where's Buster?" Silence. A long, damning silence. I could hear him breathing on the other end. I heard my mom's voice faintly in the background. "Who is it?" "Tell her you're busy." "Dad," I said again, my voice dangerously low. "Where is my dog?" he stammered. "Now, honey, your mother and we talked about it. It was for the best. He was just too much for the house. We found a really nice family. They have a huge yard. He'll be so much happier there. I felt a coldness spread through my chest, a terrifying, absolute clarity. They hadn't rehomed him. They had gotten rid of him. My dog. My boy. While I was away caring for a sick relative. Did you give him away? I whispered, dreading the answer. Well, my dad cleared his throat. There was a rehoming fee. To make sure he went to a good home, you know. A rehoming fee. That's what he called it. My mind was screaming. They didn't give him away. They sold him. They sold my best friend for cash while I was gone. I didn't say another word. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just hung up the phone. I walked back out to the porch. Aunt Carol, I said, my voice flat. Something's come up at home. I have to leave. Right now. She saw the look on my face and didn't argue. I threw my stuff in a bag and got in my car. It was an 8-hour drive. I did it in 6.5, fueled by pure adrenaline and a rage so profound it felt like it was going to burn a hole straight through my soul. I didn't listen to music. I just drove, staring at the white lines on the highway, the same thought playing on a loop in my head. I'm coming for you, buddy. I'm coming. I pulled up to the house at 5 in the morning. The sky was just starting to turn a bruised purple. I used my key and walked inside. The silence was the first thing that hit me. It was a dead, empty silence. Buster's big water bowl wasn't by the back door. His favorite squeaky tennis ball wasn't on the rug. His bed, the big one I'd bought him with my first 2 paychecks from the library, was gone from the corner of the living room. They had erased him. In 2 weeks, they had completely and utterly erased any sign that he had ever lived there. I stood in the middle of the living room as my parents came down the stairs, woken by the front door. They were wearing matching silk robes. They looked shocked to see me. Honey, you're home early, my mom said, forcing a smile. We were going to tell you when you got back. We wanted to do it in person. Where is he? I asked. We already talked about this on the phone, my dad started. He's with a very nice family. I want their name and their number. Now. My mother scoffed, crossing her arms. Don't be ridiculous. We're not going to bother those poor people. The decision has been made. It was for your own good, too. You'll have so much more freedom in college without a dog to tie you down. For my own good. The rage I'd been holding back all night finally boiled over. For my own good? You sold my dog. He wasn't a piece of furniture you could just get rid of because he didn't match the drapes. He is a living creature who I love, and you sold him like he was nothing. Lower your voice, she hissed. You'll wake the neighbors. I don't give a damn about the neighbors. I was screaming now. You have 5 minutes to give me the information for the people who have my dog, or I am walking out that door, calling the police and reporting him stolen. He is microchipped in my name. The vet records are in my name. I will press charges. That got their attention. The color drained from my dad's face. My mom looked momentarily stunned into silence. The threat of involving outsiders, of shattering their perfect suburban image, was the only language they understood. My dad cracked first, of course. Helen, just give her the number, he pleaded with my mom. My mom glared at him, then at me. With a frustrated huff, she went to the kitchen, grabbed a piece of paper from the counter, and shoved it into my hand. Fine. Here. You're making a huge mistake. It was a printout of a Craigslist ad. Golden Retriever, purebred, 3 years old, very friendly, needs a new home with more space, $500. $500. They sold my best friend for the price of a new television. I didn't even look at them. I walked out to my car, my hands shaking again, and I called the number. A woman answered, sounding sleepy. I explained who I was, my voice breaking for the first time. I told her the whole story. About my grandma, about my parents, about how Buster was my dog, and I had no idea this was happening. To her eternal credit, the woman was horrified. Oh my God, she said. Your parents told us you were going off to college and couldn't take him. The kids are already so attached, but, oh, you poor thing. Of course you can have him back. He's your dog. There was one catch. They needed the $500 back. They weren't wealthy and they'd spent it in good faith. I didn't hesitate. Yes, of course. I have it. I can be there in an hour. I drove straight to the nearest 24-hour ATM and drained my savings account. Every penny I had saved for college textbooks and a security deposit on an apartment. I didn't even care. The reunion was one of the most beautiful moments of my life. The second I got out of the car, he heard my voice and started barking like a maniac. When the woman opened the door, he shot out like a furry cannonball and slammed into me, whining and licking my face, his whole body wiggling with a joy so pure it brought tears to my eyes. I just knelt on the lawn, hugging him, burying my face in his fur, and sobbed. "I'm so sorry, buddy. I'm so sorry." I gave the woman the cash, thanked her profusely, and we got back in the car. He never took his eyes off me the whole ride back to the house. And that's when I knew I couldn't stay. I couldn't live in a house with people who were capable of that kind of betrayal. People who could look me in the eye and lie, who valued a clean rug more than a life, more than my happiness. I parked in the driveway. I told Buster to stay, that I'd be right back. I walked inside, past my parents who were sitting at the kitchen table waiting for me, and went straight to my room. I grabbed the one cardboard box I could find and filled it with the only things that mattered: my laptop for school, my chargers, my grandmother's locket, and a handful of photo albums. When I came back downstairs, my mom saw me. Her eyes widened, and then she stood up. "What do you think you're doing?" "I'm leaving," I said, not stopping. "Don't be so dramatic. You made your point, you got the dog back. Now this is over." "No," I said, turning to face her at the door. "It's not over. It's done." And that's when she followed me onto the porch and started screaming. That's when she delivered that final, perfect summary of our entire relationship. "You are choosing a stupid dog over your own family." And I looked at her, truly looked at her, and I felt nothing. Not anger, not sadness. Just nothing. The connection was severed. The cord was cut. He was more of a family to me than you ever were. I got in my car. I backed out of the driveway. I saw her face in the rearview mirror, crumpled and furious. Then I turned the corner and she was gone. I drove straight back to my Aunt Carol's house. She opened the door, saw me, saw Buster in the car, and just hugged me without a word. I lived with her and my grandma for the next year. I got a full-time job. I enrolled in the local community college. I saved up every dollar I could. Buster was by my side through all of it. My parents tried to call. They sent texts, emails. They had relatives, flying monkeys, call me and tell me I was breaking my mother's heart and being a selfish, ungrateful child. I blocked every single one of them. A year later, Buster and I moved into our own tiny apartment. It's not much, but it's ours. It's filled with dog hair and mismatched furniture and love. It's a home, not a showroom. Sometimes I wonder if I did the right thing. Society tells you that family is everything, that you're supposed to forgive and forget. But I can't. I can't forget the empty space where his bed used to be. I can't forget the Craigslist ad. I can't forgive the fact that they saw my deepest love for another living being as an inconvenience to be sold for $500. They didn't just sell my dog. They sold any chance of ever having me in their lives again. And you know what? It was the best $500 I ever spent. So yeah, that's how I ended up completely estranged from my parents at the age of 19. It was a messy, painful, gut-wrenching decision, but I've never once regretted it. If you want to hear more stories about navigating life after cutting off toxic family, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, because let me tell you, the holidays get a whole lot more interesting when you start building a family of your own choice.